Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for the interruption that has just occurred. I don't know what happened there. Maybe some parallel universe or something. Did you know that you can rust-proof steel and maybe some other metals? I don't know, the article here doesn't say that. But did you know that you can clean them all really good and then quench them in oil? By quenching, I mean actually heating them to a certain degree, like any parts you have, bolts, screws, nuts, everything that you have that will, well, basically heat up. You can then, after it's a little bit dimming, quench them in oil. We will explain that later. For now, I don't know what to tell you. We're not going to mount the complete front. That's not the reason why it's sitting here. The actual reason, we have to get the frame straight. And I'll show you right over here two perfectly unbent front ends here, because like I said in the first episode, when they dismounted this front in 1992, they didn't even bother to unscrew it from the subframe. They just torched the front two ends. That's why we basically have two perfectly shaped subframe endings, or beginnings? Nah, that sounds wrong. Yeah, going to unscrew them, take a few measurements, and probably replace this front end. What can go wrong? We have this front end from the frame here. Yeah, we may need this actually, since they are just a little bit rusty and they haven't changed in their actual form. I'm going to salvage them. I'm going to unscrew them both from the left and from the right side. Sandblast them, or at least this one for now, because we actually need this. And the other side we can straighten out like it is. So, let's not talk too much. I brought the right tools beforehand, I think. You have 3 screws. They all have nuts on each side, the other side of the screw, and they're all 3/4. The long ratchet. Let's try to take this off first. Alright, it's doing something. That's good. Try to counter it. Let me feel where it is. I'm so skilled I don't need to see. Wow, I'm so smart. Let me hold this. Yes. Here, this is the nut. It's pretty gross actually, but not too bad. This is the screw, or the bolt. Alright. You can reuse the rubber, so that's good. It's not too cracked. It's a little bit old, but maybe throwing it in hot water will help. Alright. It's moving. Alright. I can't move this yet. Maybe if I loosen this one up. Is it spinning? Oh. It's pretty easy. Yeah. Oh. Oh. Ooh, look at this.
What you got there?
It's a smoothie.
That's weird. I've never seen that. Ah, I see. Okay. You can't turn them because you need to push them. Alright, let's try this. That was easy. Now for the second one. It's back here. Alright. There goes that. Oh no. Alright, one more try. That was it. Oh. There it is. That's what we needed. Let's pull this rubber out. Ow! And I have a cut. Nice. That's also very rusted, but we will see what we can do once we stop this bleeding again. Alright, now the other side, it's basically the exact same thing as before. So, not much talking. Number one. Oh no. Oh no! What we have here is a special tool. Hope you can see that properly. That we use to heat up magnetic metals. So you have this coil over here and it uses inductivity.
I like your funny words, Magic Man.
Maybe can heat this up to the level where needed. You can hear it fizzling. It's the moisture evaporating. That was not ideal. Alright, I got it to turn at least. Let me get a wire wheel. Let's get the ratchet ready. So off. That's good. Oh yeah, this works now. I hope. Oh yeah, sounds good. Stay on there. Let's don't touch this, as tempting as it is. Ooh. Ah, ooh. No. Ow, no. Ah. Ay, 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 ay. Whew. That was hot.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
Still steaming. Let's get the hammer. Yeah. I can reuse that. It looks very bad, but don't worry. Alright guys, this is what I'm talking about. You know, from the accident, the frame got a little bit bent and warped. So I'm quite lucky to have this front endlings here. So in order to replace this front end, we need to get the steering transmission. Is it called steering transmission? I'm not really sure.
No.
You have to get the steering transmission off so that we have a lot of room to work with. We are taking everything apart, but first of all we have to straighten this. First, let me sandblast this. Then we're going to unscrew this, and then where we go then? I mean, yeah, well, you know what I mean. Alright, now we actually need only this one here. I think we are going to sandblast both of them. Before we can do that, we need to get all the loose stuff off from here so that they don't clog the sandblaster. You can do that just with an ordinary wire wheel. We don't really need that. Now that we have both of these sandblasted, we can handle them cleanly without ever so slightly getting our hands dirty with rust and grime and apparently oil, because I think there are some oils in between here. I looked at the subframe to decide if I'm going to swap this or not, and I tried a little bit of hammering, and I am going to weld this in. So that we couldn't do that, we have to get sort of flat surface here. So I'm going to hold it on the what is it called?
Belt sander.
Well, anyway, let's just start working. Alright, now we can unscrew the steering transmission. I'll try to unclip this nut because it's secured with a splint that you push inside and then bend it outwards, so it prevents the nut from coming loose. I don't know if you noticed, but steering and braking are very important parts of a car.
What?
You know, you won't want that to come loose. But yeah, I'm trying to undo this. There it is. Do not reuse those. Then the nut on there is also 3/4. Let's try to loosen that up. Oh, it couldn't have loosened itself because of the splint, but it wasn't very secure. Alright, what you want to do after you unscrewed it completely and made sure that it has no resistance in threading on and off. You want to place the nut flush with the top of the screw and then try to punch it out with, again, a copper hammer or something. You want to use the nut so you don't damage the threads. So when you have the nut on the thread, they want to deform together, which is really hard. I hope that made sense. Try to give it a little tap. Yep, I think that came out. Yep, there it is. Let's just leave it like that and unscrew the transmission. Oh, the screw isn't so bad at all. That's cool. 2 more. That one looks a little bit worse. I guess there's a lot of dirt in the frame. You have to remember when you're unscrewing parts like this, those are usually really heavy. So be prepared. Alright. There it goes. Oh, that's nasty. That's very nasty. I don't like this at all. Alright, this is much better for now. This little piece of measurement device technology thing. I'm going to lay this down in the middle of the mounting hole for the right side, and this one in this middle, just like this. So what I just did now is to measure the distance from some parts of a subframe. I'm using them as reference points so that I know how to weld on the new part, in which distance, like back to forth and right to left. And the height is also something that I have already figured out. I use the stabiliser bar as a reference because it's really square under the subframe, and it's also the part that's most to the front. I used both of those with 2 lifts. It's not a lift.
Jack, yo, why the fuck has my voice changed again? What's next? Fucking Jason Statham, maybe.
I leveled them both to 36.2 centimeters, and the mounting surface that is on the other side that you probably can't see right now has an original height with that setup here of 48 centimeters. So I have to bring this to 48 centimeters. I think it's now 1 centimeter higher. Also, what's important is the hole distance. I measured on the front the mounting holes as well, and they have a distance of 96 centimeters. So if you take into plan that the right front end isn't bent, which I think and hope, and then we are going to measure the distance according to the position of this hole, we get that this hole was 98 or 99 centimeters apart. What I'm gonna do now is essentially just eyeballing it, then hopefully end up where I want to end up. With a project like this, the best thing you can do is completely leave the factor, time, out of the equation. However the long it takes, doesn't matter. The outcome has to be good. That was fairly easy. Yeah, there's kind of a big spacing in between here, but it's not unfixable, if you know what I mean. This could work. I can't clamp it on here, so I have to tag weld it to fix it and have a look at it from a wider angle. Get the wire wheel and make every surface here completely blank, so that we have a good welding preparation. And then we can basically tag weld it on here with 2 spots or 1 spot even. What I think I will have to do is get something from the lower edge here away, like 1 centimeter. Let's just get this clean. I know this looks a little bit ugly, well, that's because it is, but that's not the point. The point is that I found the correct position. Now I can weld it completely together. This now looks a little bit weird because there's a giant gap here. Yeah, eyeballing is not the best, especially when I do it. But once we welded this completely shut, we are going to smoothen it out a little bit. You can see from the hole here that it's almost perfect. The difference being that both of the endings basically don't really match up. So that's why I have to weld it shut here. But we are going to do that, and we are going to finish that. Unfortunately, I'm not going to film that because the amount of light that comes off from the welding process, I'm not sure if that would damage the camera or something. Gonna go with the cautious method and don't film the welding process. This looks cool, doesn't it? I mean, I don't know what to say, to be honest, because this just looks awesome. When it's going to be painted, it will look even more awesome. I'm totally happy with this. Now, straighten out the other side. You can just do that without cutting it or something, because the damage is very minor. Tomorrow we are going to take the whole suspension apart, sandblast it, and paint it. The paint I have, you're really going to like this. First of all, we have to get this straight here, because this is supposed to be like a lip or something that's standing here, and the accident just totally collapsed it inwards, so I think I'm going to weld this here and grind it down again so it looks totally normal. There is one part in the suspension which is the spring that is so fucking dangerous that I'm going to say a few things when we get to that. That's a lot of work we still have to do. We only have tomorrow left. Begin to disassemble the whole suspension. I'm going to take off the wheels first, obviously. In order to do that, you need to leave it on the ground still, so when you try to loosen the lug nuts, the wheel doesn't spin. So let's try to do this now. Alright, not too bad. Oh, I'm a fucking retard. This thing is still on the ground. So, first things done, we need to get rid of this clip that secures the braking hose. Oh, well that was easy. Here it is. Now there are two Allen screws in here, which secure the braking caliper to the whole assembly. This is off, yeah, there we go. First one's loose. Oh no. Oh no. Alright. Those two bolts are now undone, so let me try to get this off here. There it is. Brake pads doesn't look too bad. I had no problems before the accident, so we will of course reuse them. Now we have to get the ball bearing out of here. Try to open this. Oh, that was easy. Oh, that's nasty. There's a little securing pin here. You need to unbend that like the previous one we did. And you can just easily pull it out. Nope. This nut here holds the whole brake disc and wheel bearing assembly together. So if we loosen that, it's quite normal that they aren't so tight because they control the amount of play you have inside the wheel bearing. If you thread it in too tightly, the wheel bearing goes bye-bye very fast, and if you put it in too loosely, the wheel bearing also goes bye-bye very fast. Get it as tight as necessary. There is a little trick for it that I will show once we assemble this. Oh boy. Those wheel bearings are way overdue for maintenance. The next step, after we manage to get our hands fat-free again, which takes only 3 bajillion years, is to get the anchor plate off. 1/2 inch. Three screws, that should be it. That was it. Very nasty. Now let's do the exact same thing on the other side. Now, what we should do, dismounting the whole steering linkage in one piece. That means getting this control or support arm, then undo these two screws, and we can take this whole thing out. Now that we have the steering components out, we can undo the stabilizer bar. Where the fuck did that go? Alright, let's unscrew the two brackets for the brake hose. Okay, now we get to one of the most dangerous parts when working on your car, which are the springs. And let me try to explain this as shortly and clearly as possible. The springs are under constant pressure outward, but they are limited by the lower control arm and the frame itself. Whenever you want to take out or put in a spring, you have to really concentrate, because if you do something wrong, you don't want that, trust me. Before you even undo any screws, make sure that you know the points which hold this whole contraption together. We have 2 points here we need to unscrew in order to turn this down so we can take the spring out. This one is the first, this nut here, and the second one is the shock absorber. You can already see that I have a jack here.
No.
In addition to this, once we unscrewed the shock absorber, we are going to try and put a spring tensioner in here and hold up most of the tension so that it doesn't want to decompress all the way once we get it loose here. Take your time, especially when working on this. This is super fucking dangerous. Oh, I hate this. Those plates here are what controls the chamber. The upper control arm travels to the center, giving it a negative chamber. I think it's negative. I always mix these. It's not that perfect, but you can see every contour now. I deliberately hit it with the brake clean. It's finally time to paint it. Wow, that was a lot of work. Now we have this giant pile of screws, nuts, washers, and I don't know how I want to call these, but essentially those are all the parts that we are going to quench in oil. So I'm going to do one example. This is basically our oil bath. We have the induction heater that we used before. Alright, now that it has this dim red, we're going to just let it drop. After it's cooled off, you can retrieve it and voila, a perfectly rust-proofed bolt. The main thing you have to look out for is that the parts you do are really clean, because otherwise the burnt oil won't stick. Alright, now let me show you the trick that I was talking about earlier. After you put some new grease in here, you don't want to torque it as tight as you can, because this isn't about tightness. This is about giving the wheel bearing a specific amount of play. The trick is very simple actually. You grab a flathead screwdriver. I think it works on all cars that have a washer behind the nut. You tighten the nut to that point where you can just push the washer behind it, just barely. I mean, with a little bit of grip on the screwdriver handle, you try to move this. I hope you can see that it moves. This is all there is to it. When you spin it, you don't want it to rotate and slowly lose momentum. You want it to have some friction in itself. So when you got this here, right, this is what it should look like. Scheiße. Please don't explode. Oh! I'm so fucking done. Yeah, tastes new. I apologize if I didn't explain so much. After you disassembled it, it's just rinse and repeat. It's just sandblasting and painting and sandblasting all the screws, nuts and washers and heating them and then quenching them in oil. Most of this stuff is quite self-explanatory, you know? This was so much fucking work. In the next episode, you can learn how to design your own dashboard, because I'm designing my own dashboard for this car. It's going to be fun because I have some surprises. What the fuck am I doing with my life? Oh, the following videos are getting shorter. No, nah, I'm trying, okay? I really love this. What? How did I do that?